Okay, now we're going to solve a quadratic equation by factoring, but notice the right side is not 0. And whenever you solve a quadratic, either the right side has to equal 0 or the left side has to equal 0, depending on the context. So how do you zero out a constant, a number by itself? Using the additive inverse. Add its opposite to both sides. Or another way to think about it, subtract 5. Well, 5 plus negative 5, or 5 subtract 5 is now 0. And 8 subtract 5, we now have 2x squared subtract 5x plus 3. Now when you go to factor, 2x squared is prime, so that makes this piece factoring pretty easy. 2x squared will be 2x times x, so that's easy. And factors of 3 are either going to be 3 times 1 or negative 3 times negative 1. And how you know which will be which, if this middle term is negative and this middle term is positive, we know right away that both of the signs on the inside will be negative. And then we just throw in, but we have to keep in mind, you have to be careful about where you put the 3 and where you put the 1. All right, so if we put 2 times negative 3, 2 times negative 3, we'll get negative 6, and then that would leave 1x, so 2x times negative 3 would be negative 6x. 1x times negative 1 would be negative 1x. Well, those add up to negative 7x. It has to add up to negative 5. So because of that, we'll put the negative 3 in the first set of parentheses and the negative 1. Now we have 2x times negative 1. Let me cover all this up. 2x times negative 1 equals negative 2x. And then we have x times negative 3 is negative 3x. And they add up to negative 5x. And when that happens, look at what we have. So we could do the zero property where you set, this is, all right. So I think I had a different problem here originally. And that's supposed to be subtract 1. Here, let me do this. So you could set 2x subtract 3 is equal to 0, x subtract 1, and use the zero property. And that's a perfectly great way of doing it. Or you could get your brain accustomed to x will equal the inverse of negative 3 is positive 3. The inverse of multiplying 2 is divide 2. The inverse of negative 1 is positive 1. And now, in parentheses, or not in parentheses, solving means solution set notation, and then put in order of least to greatest. So 1 is smaller than 3 halves, because 3 halves is 1.5. And I think that's it.